What's up guys, it's Ed from Hat Kiteboarding. Today I am talking about the differences in Parawing V2 and compared to like when it started 2 years ago. So a lot of guys around here are riding some of that V1 gear, and I think they're missing a big contributing factor with, these V2s, specifically like Pocket Rocket V2, Fly Surfer POW V2, like these newer Parawings. Although you're not going to find them used on the market right now, they make a huge difference in just like user friendliness, low end range, high end, like controls. Everything has gotten better. So I can't recommend enough getting on like the Pocket Rocket V2 or the POW or like F1's Quest. Like there's a lot of ones out there that aren't the first to market. They're now like in their Gen 2s, or maybe it's like their like second Parawing release from the company, and they really have figured out like line lengths, the material of the line, the packability of the Parawing. So it's just something to think about when you're going to be spending $600-700 on a used Parawing versus $1,000 on a new Parawing. It may be worth it to go ahead and get yourself one of these newer ones that are just like much more user friendly. Some of the things that I think that have gotten better in these newer Parawings is, number one, like overall, like easy use wise, is line length, right? When you had those line lengths that were way longer than arm's reach and you had to double choke down when you're trying to learn to Parawing, that becomes very difficult. Also, like the material that the lines are made out of, if they were, previously like very floppy and loose, they are more inclined to get tangled on you or whatever you're wearing, whether it's a Vycobi vest or like a waist belt with a harness hook. The bar sizes have all pretty much shrunk down, which is nice. So they're much easier to fit into your pouch, and the controllability, a lot of them have gotten rid of those B-lines off the bar now, which is another super like comfortable way to ride. Like you used to have to always like split your fingers around the B-line, so I really enjoy that. And like the ergonomics also of the bar has improved greatly. Like, Ozone has stuck with theirs, but they just shrunk it down so it's shorter. But some of the other brands have changed like the bar type that they're using, and also like have these like splits in the A-line. So when you're going to depower the Parawing, you're not grabbing on those like outer lines, which makes it more difficult to pull that Parawing in. Earlier on, with the designs of the Parawings, one of the ways they were getting better upwind performance was longer lines. But now they've kind of probably been through a couple of prototypes, and they've figured out different attachment points, where to keep the Parawing, or how to keep the Parawing nice and like full of air, and they're able to get more BMG, more upwind angles. So I think they've like been able to shorten the lines a little bit, so it's easier to depower and close out and pack it away. But you've seen like the upwind performance of them still like pretty good, if not better than some of the ones that had longer lines. I can only speak to like the brands that I've ridden, like the POW V2, this Pocket Rocket V2, and I can easily say that the range has improved for all of those. So like, you're gonna have a little more low end, a little more top end, which was like the number one complaint for most Parawings when they were first coming out, was that, the sweet spot window was, 5 to 8 miles per hour. Now the sweet spot window might be like 10 to 12 miles per hour, where you can ride comfortably. And, I always recommend harnessing and hooking in to help that top end be a little bit more comfortable. If you are like familiar with your spot and zone, you can probably get away with like 2, maybe 3 Parawings, depending on like what is your like predominant wind speeds. Like what do you mostly have? Do you mostly have 20 to 30? Then you're gonna probably be buying like a 3.6, a 3, and maybe something a little bit smaller. Or like, are you like where we are in New Jersey? Are you like looking at a lot of like 10 to 20? Then you're looking at like the 5 meters, maybe the 4.3 for when it gets a little like gusting into like the mid 20s. So it's going to depend on like your spot and figuring out what's going to work for you and what you're going to be riding in. Fortunately and unfortunately, in New Jersey, we get the span of every wind speed. Our winter bay runs gust up to over 40 miles an hour. Last winter, I was on a 1.7 for the most part. And then in the summers, I'm on a 4.3 or a 5 meter pretty much every day. Like it's going to depend. So like for me, I kind of need a pretty big quiver. We have a lot more Parawing tips and tricks videos coming out. So if you're interested, please subscribe. If you have any questions, just hit us up in the comments.